So the second type of mushroom cultivation we're going to do today is a bit of a modern twist. This way you can produce mushrooms very quickly. So you can get a crop of mushrooms in 3 weeks, and then about another couple of weeks as they fruit and turn into mushrooms. The good thing about oyster mushrooms is that you can use lots and lots of materials. They're great at decomposing cellulose. People have grown them off books like the Bible even. Any waste organic matter, barley straw, hay, anything you can get your hands on really. So in an urban environment it's quite interesting to see how you can use your local resources differently. So coffee grounds has become a really big thing over the past 10 years as a way of supplementing the straw. So straw is very carbon rich. If you want lots of mushrooms, you add a bit of nitrogen to it. And this is a bit like when you're doing your composting, your carbon nitrogen ratio. But with this one, this is a really low-tech method. So this is just simply straw in water, but the water has something called hydrated lime in it. But basically what you do is about 12 hours of soaking overnight, and the high pH will just kick off most of the bacteria that you don't want colonizing. The whole point of all of this is you're trying to give the mushroom the best chance. You're trying to give it a kickstart against any other microorganism. Basically, because wet organic matter will rot. So you want your mushroom to rot it, not anything else. Obviously, because this is high pH water, you need to balance the pH before you can pour this away. This is just citric acid. This is very cheap online when you buy in this size. And this will just neutralise it to normal pH, and then you can pour that water on your garden. So when you're growing in this sort of straw, you want everything hydrated to allow the mushroom to penetrate. Any dry material, the mushroom will just dry out. But you don't want it too wet, because then what happens if it's too wet, it will be anaerobic. There'll be no oxygen. So you want something called fill capacity, which is just if you squeeze it, only a drip of water comes out. But this will for the next hour, this will be fine. Just let it drip down naturally. You need a container to hold it all, but it's really good to reuse these plant pots. And there's lots and lots of these that you can get at garden centres. Drill some holes in the side of these, and the mushrooms will fruit out. To sort of put a bit in, and then we've got this is the sawdust form we were using earlier with the log culture. And we can just sort of sprinkle some of that in. You can kind of do this in layers. So just a bit of sawdust, a bit of straw. A little bit more spawn. And this grain spawn has got more nutrients in it, so we can actually use grain spawn as well. And this is kind of like a store of food. By using things like grain spawn, you'll get a bigger crop of mushrooms, because straw isn't, like I said, isn't really nutritious. It's lots of carbon, but it doesn't have that nitrogen that will produce. So this is the fruiting bucket. You can see that we've got a couple of holes here. When the mushroom is done growing through the material, they want to come out. But for now, we put it in another one, and this will be a kind of incubating phase. This will be low oxygen, high CO2, it will allow it to incubate, it will be dark. One of the triggers for mushrooms to fruit is more oxygen and more moisture and light. So by effectively pulling off this bucket and exposing these holes, you'll have light, you'll have more oxygen flow, and you'll have more moisture because you'll be spraying these or, So this is sort of a 2-bucket system, easy enough to do.
It takes roughly about sort of anywhere between two and 3 weeks to colonise. The more spawn you use, the quicker it will grow, basically. So just like that.